Welcome to Tales by WZ. Today's story is about a man who accidentally saw his fiancée texting her affair partner, then ended the engagement in a way she could not ignore. As you listen, ask yourself what you would do the moment you realized you were being mocked behind your back. My fiancé said, "I'm keeping the ring." I replied, "No marriage, no ring." Then I called my friend's moving crew at 6 a.m., cleared the place, cut off the Wi-Fi, and watched her realize she wasn't on the lease while the ring became a police report. I'm 31, and I found out 3 nights ago in the most accidental way possible. The kind of moment that flips your life in about 2 seconds. My fiancé is 29. We've been together for years, engaged for 8 months. The wedding was planned for next spring. Everything looked normal from the outside, not perfect but good. I had no reason to think I was about to lose the person I thought I would marry. Tuesday night around 11 p.m. I was in the kitchen making a late snack. She was on the couch, phone in hand, smiling while she typed. That wasn't unusual. She's always been the kind of person who texts friends all day. I walked up behind her to ask if she wanted anything. I wasn't trying to snoop. I wasn't even thinking. I just walked over. Her phone screen was right there, bright, clear, impossible to miss. The message she was typing said, "He still has no clue. Lol, playing the perfect little fiancé while you're giving me what he never could. See you Thursday at the usual spot." I froze. I read it twice, then again. My brain didn't want to accept it, so it tried to reread it into something else. But there was nothing else to read. It was exactly what it looked like. She hadn't noticed me yet. She was still typing, adding more, like she was enjoying the joke. I backed up quietly and made noise in the kitchen like I had just walked in. I forced my voice to sound normal. "Hey babe, want some chips?" She locked her phone instantly and turned around with her usual smile. "No thanks, I'm good." Cool, great, normal. I went back to the kitchen, ate my snack, and acted like nothing happened. My hands were shaking, so I kept them busy. I chewed slowly. I nodded at whatever she said. I played my role. This is where your body tries to protect you. It tells you to stay calm, keep the peace, don't react until you understand what you're seeing. About 10 minutes later, she came into the kitchen, kissed my cheek, and said she was exhausted and heading to bed. I said, "Okay, I'll be up soon." She went into the bedroom and closed the door. The second I heard it click, something in me changed. Not loud, not dramatic, just cold and clear. Here's the situation. The apartment lease is in my name only. I signed it 6 months before we met. When she moved in 2 years ago, I never added her to the lease. I kept meaning to. I never got around to it. For once in my life, procrastination helped me. Most of the furniture was mine from before we lived together. The rest we bought together, but it went on my credit card. She paid me back sometimes, but legally, the charges were in my name. The engagement ring was $7,500, sitting in the jewelry box in our bedroom. When trust breaks, you start looking at everything through a different lens, not to be petty but to protect yourself. I spent the next 2 hours making calls. First call was to my best friend. He owns a moving company. I said, "I need a favor, a big one, tomorrow morning, early." He didn't ask a lot of questions, but I could hear the concern in his voice. He said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Dead serious." Second call was to my brother, who's a lawyer. I said I needed advice hypothetically. He asked me what happened, and I told him the truth. He told me to stay calm, document everything, and don't do anything that could come back on me legally. Third call was to my landlord. I told him I needed to discuss something about my lease. I kept it simple and asked what I was allowed to do with my own belongings and what my options were if someone not on the lease refused to leave. He was clear. Notice matters. Paper trails matter. Don't get cute. Handle it clean. By 2 a.m., I had a plan. I went to bed. She was asleep, completely peaceful. She had no idea what I'd seen and no idea what was coming. Wednesday morning, my alarm went off at 6 a.m. She groaned and rolled over. "Too early," I said. "I know, babe. Early meeting. Go back to sleep." She did, out like a light. I got dressed and went to the bedroom door, and this is where the situation got weird. Our bedroom door had one of those old hook and eye latches on the outside. The previous tenant installed it for some reason. We never removed it. We never used it. Until now. I quietly closed the door and hooked the latch. Let me be clear, this part was impulsive and I do not recommend it. When you're hurt, your brain starts reaching for control in stupid ways. But in that moment, I wanted time. Time to move my things without a screaming fight, without her grabbing items, without her calling people and turning it into a scene while my friend's crew was there. My friend arrived at 6:45 a.m. with 4 guys and a truck. They looked at me like I had lost my mind. My friend said, "You're serious about this?" I said, "Yes," I told them, "everything except the bed she's sleeping in and her personal stuff. Everything else goes to storage." They got to work. Quietly at first, then it didn't matter. A couch being carried down a hallway is not silent. They took the couch, the TV and stand, the dining table, the kitchen table I built myself, my bookshelf, the coffee table, lamps, my desk, tools, everything that was mine or that I had paid for. The place started to look like a set after the actors went home. Around 7:30, I heard her voice from the bedroom. "Hello." "What's going on?" Then louder. "Hey, the door is stuck, hello," then pounding. "Let me out, what is happening?" I walked to the door and spoke through it calm. "Morning, movers are here." "Movers, what are you talking about? Open this door right now." "Can't do that yet, they're almost done." "Done with what?" "Moving out my stuff." "You can come out in about 20 minutes. The pounding got harder, the threats started, then the crying, then the screaming again. I tuned it out and stayed focused on the job. The movers were done by 8:15 a.m. The apartment was almost empty. They left the bed she was lying on, her dresser, her clothes. That was it. I unhooked the latch and stepped back. She burst out with her phone in her hand, eyes red, face wet, shaking with anger. "What is wrong with you? You can't just do this. We're getting married." I said, "Actually, we're not." She started talking over me, so I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot, the message she thought I'd never see. Her face went white, then red, then white again, like her body didn't know which emotion to land on. "That's not, you took my phone," I said. "I didn't have to, you were texting on the couch. I walked up behind you, I saw it." She snapped, "You invaded my privacy." I looked at her and said, "You cheated on me and bragged about how clueless I am. But sure, I'm the bad guy." That's when the tactics changed. The anger switched to crying, softer voice reaching for me. "Baby, please, I can explain, it's not what it looks like." I said, "It said he still has no clue, lol, it looks exactly like what it is." "It was just texting, nothing physical." I said, "You literally told him he gives you what I never could. That's not an innocent sentence." She reached for my arm again. I stepped back. I told her, "You have 30 days to find a new place. That's the notice period. I'll be staying with my brother. My half of the bills stops today. You're on your own." "You can't do this to me," I said. "Watch me." I grabbed the bag I'd already packed and walked out. 5 days later, I can tell you the fallout was exactly what you'd expect from someone who gets caught and still wants to be the victim. Wednesday afternoon, I got a call from the police. "Sir, we received a call about a domestic disturbance at your address." My fiancée told them I locked her in a room and stole her belongings. I explained the lease, only my name. I explained the furniture ownership. I told them about the text message and I offered to show the screenshot. The officer paused, then said something that stuck with me. He told me locking someone in a room, even briefly, could be considered unlawful restraint. I told him I understood. I told him it was a mistake in the heat of the moment. I told him she wasn't in danger, she had her phone, and it would not happen again. They let it go with a warning, mostly because she had no legal claim to the residence and nobody was hurt. Even when you're the one who got betrayed, you still have to keep your head. One bad decision can hand the other person a weapon. After that call, she started calling everyone, my parents, my friends, anyone who would listen. She painted me as an abusive monster who kidnapped her and robbed her. The problem with her story was simple. Everyone knows me and I had receipts. My brother did some digging and found out who the affair partner was. It was my former coworker, a guy I used to grab lunch with, someone I considered a friend. He left the company 6 months ago for a better job and apparently for my fiancée. I texted him one line that night. Hope you're enjoying what I never could. Lol. He blocked me immediately, no denial, no apology, just blocked. Then came the ring. Thursday morning she texted me, I'm keeping the ring, it was a gift. I told her an engagement ring is a conditional gift. The condition is marriage, no ring. Return it within 48 hours or I'm filing a police report. She called me garbage and said she wasn't giving me anything. So I waited the 48 hours and filed the report for the theft of a $7,500 engagement ring. Saturday morning, her mother showed up at my brother's house with the ring. She was angry. She told me I was destroying her daughter's life over a mistake. I told her, your daughter destroyed her own life when she cheated on me and mocked me to her affair partner. Her mom tried the forgiveness speech. She said her daughter loved me, she made a bad choice, everyone deserves forgiveness. I said, everyone deserves consequences. Then I told her to leave and not come back. Back at the apartment, my ex still had to stay through the notice period, but the apartment was empty. No couch, no TV, no kitchen table, no Wi-Fi router. All the streaming accounts were in my name and I canceled them. She had a bed, a dresser, and her clothes. She texted me dozens of times. How am I supposed to live like this? You're torturing me. I can't afford furniture. You're a monster. I didn't respond. Sometimes silence is the only boundary that works with a person who wants a fight. The friend group got messy. We had mutual friends, or I thought we did. People asked what happened. I sent them one thing only, the screenshot of her text. No commentary, no yelling, just the facts. About half the group sided with her anyway. They said everyone makes mistakes and I was being too harsh. The other half cut her off completely. They said cheating is bad, but mocking your partner like that is cruel in a different way. Losing friends hurt. But if they think cheating and laughing about it is normal, they were never really my friends. Then there were the wedding deposits. Venue, catering, photographer, DJ, about $8,000 total. I called every vendor. Most couldn't refund deposits. The venue surprised me and refunded half after I explained and showed the screenshot. The owner told me he wasn't taking money from someone going through that. The photographer was strict. Contract was contract, no refund. I lost about $6,000, an expensive lesson but cheaper than a divorce later. 3 weeks later, the situation escalated again. She texted me, I can't afford rent this month, you need to help me. I replied, you have income, figure it out, we are not together. Your finances are not my responsibility. She tried guilt. She said I was leaving her homeless. I reminded her she had 30 days notice and those 30 days were almost up. She didn't pay rent. The landlord called me and said my ex claimed I promised to cover her. I told him we weren't engaged, she wasn't on the lease, and she needed to be out by the end of the notice period. He said he understood and would start eviction proceedings if she refused to leave. Meanwhile, her smear campaign kept going. She told people I abandoned her and left her destitute. The truth was she had a job making around $58,000 a year. She wasn't destitute. She was just used to living with my money as a cushion. At one point, I posted the screenshot again with a simple caption saying someone asked for my side, and this was it. Then I deactivated my accounts because I didn't want my life to become a public argument. A few of her friends later reached out and apologized. They said they had no idea she talked about me like that. Neither did I, until I saw it. Then the affair partner story got even worse. Turns out the former coworker was married with 2 kids. His wife found out and called me. She asked if I knew my fiancée was sleeping with her husband. I told her yes, and that's why she was my ex. We compared timelines and lies. She had receipts too, including hotel charges. She filed for divorce. My ex was now dating a man going through a divorce he caused, about to lose half his stuff, pay support, and become bitter and broke. The irony was almost funny if it hadn't cost me so much. Then her parents showed up again, this time with her younger brother. They wanted to make it right. I told them there was nothing to fix. She cheated. I ended it. That was the end. They pushed. They asked me to pay for her move because moving is expensive. I said, she is an adult with a job, she can handle it. Her mother told me I'd regret this when I was old and alone. I told her I'd rather be old and alone than old and cheated on. For days before the notice ended, my ex finally started scrambling. She found a place, her mother's basement. She began moving her things. I changed the locks with the landlord's permission because I didn't trust that she hadn't copied a key. Then I went back to the apartment for the first time in weeks to check on it. She had trashed it, not messy trash, petty trash, paint poured on the bedroom carpet, broken light fixtures. Messages scratched into the bathroom mirror. The kitchen sink clogged with concrete mix. The landlord was there with me. He took photos, jaw tight. He said it would be at least $2,500 in damages, maybe more. He told me he was billing her and taking her to small claims if she didn't pay. That was beyond heartbreak. That was vandalism. This is what entitlement looks like when it gets cornered. Not remorse, not apology, just destruction. 2 months later, there was real closure. My landlord sued her for the property damage. She didn't show up to the first court date. Default judgment. About $3,100 for repairs and damages. She still didn't pay, so the landlord started wage garnishment, a chunk of each paycheck until it's paid off. She called me from a new number, crying, saying it was my fault. She said if I hadn't abandoned her, she wouldn't have been so angry. I hung up and blocked the number, but I recorded the call because my brother told me to document everything. In my state, one-party consent makes that legal. I sent the recording to the landlord's lawyer because she basically admitted the damage was intentional. They went after additional damages because she made it worse for herself with her own mouth. Meanwhile, the married guy's divorce finalized. His ex-wife got the house, primary custody, child support, and alimony. He was broke and bitter. Mutual friends said my ex was supporting him financially now. The man she bragged about, the upgrade, couldn't even pay his own rent. Apparently they fought constantly. She realized he wasn't the fantasy she made him into, but she had already burned her life down for him. She couldn't pretend it was worth it, but she also couldn't admit she was wrong. I used some of my remaining anger in a better way. I called a few wedding vendors and asked if they'd do something different. A freedom party. A dodge the bullet celebration. The DJ laughed and offered to do it for half price. The photographer wouldn't do a fake wedding, but agreed to do a fun photo shoot with the theme of moving on. I had a party. I invited my real friends, the ones who didn't ask me to swallow disrespect just to keep the peace. My brother gave a toast about being smart enough to leave before it became a legal nightmare. It was expensive, but it was therapeutic. Somewhere in the middle of all that, my ex tried to restart her story online, but it collapsed. A Reddit post went viral about a woman who cheated, got caught, then tried to play victim when her fiancé removed his belongings from his own apartment. Thousands of people dragged her entitlement. My ex saw it, recognized herself, and had a meltdown. She posted her version again. Someone linked the viral post in the comments. Someone else posted the screenshot of her "he still has no clue" lol message. Her narrative cracked in public. Again. She deleted her social media the same day. Then one day at a coffee shop, I ran into her younger sister, the one who had always been decent to me. She sat down and told me she needed to say something. She said my ex was miserable and she deserved it. She said the family knew the truth now. They had seen the texts. They had seen the evidence. She apologized on behalf of the family. She also told me my ex had a pattern of this behavior in past relationships, and I was just the latest person to get hit by it. That conversation helped more than I expected because it made one thing clear. It wasn't about me not being enough. It was about her character. Now, where am I? I moved into a new one-bedroom downtown, all mine. I furnished it with things I actually like instead of compromises. I blocked my ex everywhere after the property damage. I didn't want updates, apologies, or threats. I wanted quiet. I sold the engagement ring and got $5,200 back. Not ideal, but better than keeping it as a reminder. I bought a new couch and invested the rest. I'm dating someone new slowly. I met her at a friend's barbecue. She's a paralegal, so she heard my story and immediately said in the calmest voice that ending the engagement made sense, but locking the bedroom door was not my finest moment. She's right. I also started therapy, not because I'm broken, but because I wanted to process everything in a healthy way. My therapist keeps coming back to the same point. I handled most of it with surprising control, but that one impulsive moment with the door says a lot about how fast pain can push you into bad choices. If I could do anything differently, it would be that. I could have achieved the same result without taking a legal risk. Everything else, ending it, protecting my home, refusing to bankroll her after betrayal, getting the ring back, cutting contact, I would do again. Because the moment I saw that text, the relationship ended. Not because she cheated, even though that alone could have ended it, but because of the way she talked about me. He still has no clue. Lol. That wasn't a mistake, that was contempt. You can't build a life with someone who thinks you're a joke. And the moving truck taking the furniture while she slept, that wasn't about revenge for me, it was about efficiency. My stuff, my apartment, my right to remove what I owned. The timing was just honest. She woke up to empty rooms because that's what she left me with. Empty vows, empty respect, an empty future. Lesson 1, cheating is betrayal, but mocking your partner while you do it is something worse. Contempt kills the relationship even faster than lies. Lesson 2, protect yourself with documentation, not drama. Screenshots and calm decisions beat shouting every time. Lesson 3, do not trade your self-respect for someone else's comfort. If they hurt you and then demand you get over it, they are not safe to build with. Lesson 4, when you're angry, don't make choices that create legal risk. You can be decisive without being reckless. Lesson 5, moving on is not pretending it didn't hurt. It's choosing not to live inside the hurt forever. So what would you have done if you saw that text over your partner's shoulder, word for word? And where is your personal line, the moment you would say, this is done, and there's no coming back?